Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chandie Speaks podcast. It's your girl Chandie. I am back another week. How are my levels? Hold on, mic check. Hello, hello. Yeah, it sounds good. I just got to get used to hearing myself talk. I work the night auditing at the hotel, and I basically go a long period of time without saying anything. So I think this is like my first time talking, and I'm like trying to get used to my voice. But welcome back to the podcast. I'm so tired. I just got off work a couple hours ago. Today is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, right? I hardly don't know what day it is half the time because of my schedule. I think what's going on right now is like I'm going into like pre-hibernation mode. I can just feel my body wanting to like go into my pre-hibernation like things that I do like spiritually, physically. So today is Tuesday, August 18th. This will be for Wednesday, August 19th. And yeah, we're basically over the halfway point of summer. And I just feel my body wanting to just be like, okay, you got to start planning for the winter, like now. I know it's just wintertime in Arizona. I'm recording this from beautiful Arizona. If I end up uploading the video version of this episode, you can see I'm recording from my van, from my home. And it's like so quickly do we forget. I feel like we just had wintertime, but really it hasn't even been hot. Or it hasn't been cold since like February, I think. It was starting to get warm in March before I went to Costa Rica. I know it was freezing in January and like late December. That was probably the coldest times of the year. So, yeah, I think I gotta start planning myself for the winter. Winter in van life is always a thing, and I like starting early so that I'm not like freezing my tits off or like just sitting around twiddling my thumbs because it's hard to stay motivated. I make all these excuses. It's hard to stay motivated when it's too fucking hot. It's hard to stay motivated when it's too fucking cold. So, and the thing is I got to keep moving, especially in the cold because otherwise I'd freeze. So that's what I'm feeling like the vibe is. I'm kind of really tired right now as well. So yeah, I don't have much per usual, so I'm just going to be reading a bunch of stuff. Oh, I made a post. Let me see how poppin' that shit is because I don't think it's worth reading right now. Maybe I'll save it for next week. I've been on like some tangent I've been noticing I've been on like this gender thing for like a few episodes now, and I remember looking back, I've only been doing this podcast for about a year, and I remember looking back saying that I didn't want this to be one of those type podcasts. And I find myself, I have found myself in a rabbit hole because some of the notes that I took this week had to do with like, like just the divide in this gender thing. It makes great for clickbait. It makes really great for content. Like literally I can post anything on either side and somebody's going to be triggered. So, but that's not really what I want to get at, I don't really know what the fuck I'm here for, but it's not for that. I'm not trying to make this be like some kind of place where you come to get pink pill or red pill inspired content or what have you. Okay, I had to pause it there because my internet was lagging. I I'm so tired. I don't really feel like doing this right now. Yeah, I wanted to come on here. The stuff that I had prepared, the notes that I had prepared for this week, just sort of dove deeper into this, like, basically pink pill. I'm accepting that I guess I'm borderline pink pill content. I thought I was more on the balanced side, but I guess more so than not, more people are seeing my content as, like, man-bashy and less, like, balanced, I guess. And I really don't want to try and do that at all. So I'm going to get to those, but first I want to get to something that's not related to that. And how the fuck did I get on this? Okay, I think what had happened this past week was shit. I saw a post somewhere. It always starts with a post, you guys. This is 2026. It's so crazy right now. Because the topic is like super nostalgic. It was nostalgic, but it was also scary. And it got me on the rabbit hole. The post was something about how women were the most heavily medicated people in the 60s. Have you guys heard about this? Apparently pharmaceutical companies and all these prescriptions and stuff were advertised mainly towards women. They were the most medicated gender in the 60s, 50s and 60s. So that got me on a weird rabbit hole, but I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. Do we have to? I don't even know if I have my notes pulled up for it right now because my internet's lagging. But that got me, I'm going to see if that loads up, but that got me on a rabbit hole. It was so crazy. I don't know. I forgot what content creator made this post, but it was like some statistics, and I looked it up, and it's factual. And then it got me on some rabbit hole about looking at other commercials from the 60s. It actually started at the 60s, and then I ended up going deeper, and I went to the 50s, and then I went up to the 70s and 80s. I watched like the poorly aged TV advertisement commercials during some of my free time this past week, and I just kind of want to talk about it a little bit. It started with that women being the heavily medicated people. So I'm going to read this really quick. Article. It's a bunch of sources. I just asked, why were women the most medicated? I think we can all tell, but what a different time to be alive. Like their TV, I think, was like barely getting out of black and white. When did we get Technicolor? When did we get color TV? I think that didn't happen until the 70s, now that I think about it. So, yeah. Anything people saw on the TV that was the way that they knew what was going on in the world. And whatever it said, that's what people believed. They didn't have anybody to cross-reference. They're just like, oh, well, the TV said that I needed to do this or needed to do that. Just like, it's crazy. Okay. Because this thing is taking forever to load. But a couple things that I've noticed in the older commercials. Crazy shit. Crazy poorly aged commercials. There was a lot of cigarette commercials. God damn, there's a lot of cigarette commercials. And coffee commercials. I'd say if there was any advertisement that was like dominant on TV during the 50s and the 60s, specifically, it was coffee and cigarettes. You guys, go watch them on YouTube. Go on a rabbit hole yourself. I mean, after this podcast, of course, give this a full listen. And then go look them up on YouTube. It's kind of wild. You would not believe the way that they were advertising. I guess, I don't know the age range of my listeners. I have a little diversity. I think mostly you're my age, so maybe it wasn't news to you, but this is all brand spanking news to me. We didn't have black and white TV when I was growing up. Okay. So yeah, they're doing all these commercials that are basically misogyny. I don't really know how else to describe it. Like the coffee commercials they would not fly today, and it's insane how they advertised coffee by saying that the wife, almost like 99% of the time, I'm guaranteed, like 99% of the time, if you saw a commercial during the 50s and the 60s, they were saying something about how the wife did not know how to make coffee. And then she like tore herself up about it. Can you guys imagine? So the coffee commercials were insane because there was so many of them. And they were all basically oppressive to women. They were all just saying that your wife doesn't know how to make coffee. So So she'd always like figure out like, oh my God, how am I going to make this coffee for this party or for my husband or for this or that? And the husband's always saying something like, well, I hope they don't have your coffee. Your coffee is not good. And like there's usually another woman that comes in and like pulls out a Folgers jar, instant coffee at that, bro. I cannot imagine what a time to be alive. I know anyone who's like older than me, I'm 37. Anyone older than me would be like, yeah, that's just what the times were. That's just like a perfectly normal thing. We made our coffee for our husbands, and if we didn't make it right, then everybody knew about it. I guess, in a way, it was a simpler time. I mean, oh boy, all the feminists are like, no, it was a very oppressive time in the 60s. I'm going to read this article. It's called Mother's Little Helper. It's a consolidation of all these sources of medicating the mid-century housewife. Crazy. Women in the 1960s were heavily medicated primarily because they were grappling with a widespread mental health crisis known as housewife syndrome and the problem that has no name. Wow. This is my first time reading this. I just kind of feel like reading that one more time. Women in the 1960s were heavily medicated primarily because they were grappling with a widespread mental health crisis known as housewife syndrome, or the problem that has no name, a profound sense of dissatisfaction and loneliness caused by the rigid social expectations of the era. And then it gives me some more bullet points of the high rates of medication were driven by several intersecting factors. I mean, it's just a crazy swing of the pendulum is what I'm seeing right now. History is so great. Maybe this might be a history podcast. I don't know. Maybe I'm on a pendulum swing right now as well, because this is just so fascinating how it all ties into how we are today. When did they, well, we all know that like marital rape was legal up until like 33 years ago. 33 years ago, you were legally able to like rape your wife in at least one state. I think it wasn't illegal in all 50 states until fucking the 90s, dude, like 1993 or some shit. So that there's that. But what was it like in the 60s? When were you able to divorce? That's what I kind of want to look up. When were you able to get a divorce as a woman from your husband? I like how Google already kind of knows what I want to ask. I was like, when were, and they said the top answer was women. When I said when were, and it was like women able to vote. So they already know. But it says, okay, apparently for a long fucking time. Really? The 1600s and 1700s, I call cap. I don't fucking know. So what was going on in the 60s then, where women were being heavily medicated? Should I just keep reading? Okay, the problem that has no name, societal entrapment. Post-World War II America normalized the image of the perfect suburban housewife. Okay, there it is. But many women felt suffocated by the roles limited to domestic chores and child rearing. They frequently reported feeling incomplete, empty, or as if they didn't exist outside of their service to their families. So this has always been going on. I feel like it's just a tale as old as time, or as they called it, the problem that has no name. It's like the ultimate sacrifice, and they were trying to stick it out, so they got medicated. Apparently they were able to leave this whole time. I don't know. I gotta double check that. I think Google's trying to lie to me. Like, women have always been able to get divorced. Nah, but you know what the fuck I mean. Pathologizing oppression. Instead of recognizing this unhappiness as a logical response to social restriction, the male-dominated medical field labeled these women as neurotic, hysterical, or socially retarded. Sidebar. You know how many commercials that came out in the 50s and 60s? I believe even the 70s, if I can go back, that were outright. I think as far as my memory is concerned, or it was a black and white commercial, so it was probably the 50s and the 60s, but they were outright saying the word retarded. Like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those people who think that's a bad word. I actually really like saying the word retarded. I don't like when I like saying the word retarded around people who get all like iffy and touchy about that word. I feel like there should be an age cutoff for certain words. Maybe like people my age, we grew up saying the word retarded. And they had it all in the commercials. Maybe it wasn't right, but that's literally a definition to like slow down. And that's what retarded is. I we didn't have autism growing up. I know that's a big old fucking debate. I saw comments on these videos of like we didn't have autism growing, because they did have autism growing up, but we called it being retarded. Oh, that's the dude that counts pencils in like 5 seconds. I don't know, or he can name all the fish in the Pacific Ocean. Okay, I don't know. We called you special. You were either gifted or you were retarded. It's all the same shit. But anyway, I digress. Back to this medicated women. Yeah, so the male-dominated medical field labeled these women as neurotic, hysterical, or socially retarded because they were unhappy with, or they felt empty and incomplete with just taking care of the house and the kids. Okay, and the next bullet point says aggressive pharmaceutical marketing. Crazy. Happy pills. This is literally a marketing thing here. Happy pills. The 1995 release of the tranquilizer Miltown, the first blockbuster psychotropic drug, marked a shift where pharmaceuticals were marketed to provide happiness and relief from daily struggles rather than just treating illness. Did I say 1995? It's 1955. It felt like I said 1995, but this is 1955 when they had this big old like movie that came out that was basically like aggressively marketing happy pills, and relief from daily struggles. And, men, I guess at that time, they were doing what men were required to do, work and bring home the money, and the woman was doing what she was required to do. But it was not fulfilling to the woman, mostly. Going by these statistics, there's targeted ads, advertisements in medical journals like JAMA, explicitly encouraged doctors to prescribe drugs to women to ensure housekeeping duties did not fail by the wayside. For example, Dexedrine, you guys remember that? Was recommended so women could, quote, make breakfast and take care of their kids. They put that in commercials. It's so weird. It's so fucking weird. On a silver lining, on a positive note, we have come such a long way. Can we give a round of applause? This is the part where I would play my sound effect machine. I should probably get one of those. I think it's time, because I would play a little round of applause, because I know it's not great. Okay. I don't think it was ever great. Let's just keep it real. I don't think America has ever been great. However, I think we have made a lot of great progress since like the founding fathers. Most definitely. Hell, since in the last 50 fucking years. We have made a lot of progress, you guys. Shit, 20 years ago, bro. Shit has changed for the better. I know it seems like it's for the worse, but man. So Dexedrine was recommended so women could, quote, make breakfast and take care of their kids. And Sinequan was marketed for women who felt, quote, guilty about not liking their marriages. That was a predominant prescribed drug in the 50s and the 60s, specifically targeted to women because they were the only ones in the marriage that was unhappy in the marriage or felt guilty about the marriage. Isn't that crazy? But they still had duties to fulfill. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I can see if I can just take a walk back into the past. Okay, let's say that they were just trying to do the right thing for America, maybe, right? It probably wouldn't have been so bad if they also advertised the other side of the spectrum for that. Like, hey, life's kind of what you make it. You can do this housewife thing. You can go do this thing. You can go do that thing. But there were so many restrictions and on women, and then all this fucking advertisement and propaganda put on women. It's like they were kind of telling us to do it one way, this way, and anyone who didn't do it that way was a rebel or weird. And now look where we are. Now look where we are. I think we've come a long way. There's celebrity endorsements. You guys remember that? The Milltown craze was fueled by Hollywood stars like Lucille Ball and Milton Berle, who joked he should be called Milltown Berle, making the drug a household name that was quickly adopted by the middle-class housewives. Good grief. There's the doctor-patient dynamic over prescription. Male psychiatrists significantly overprescribed. I don't mean to laugh. Sometimes, oh my God, this is just kind of dark. It's really kind of dark. Male psychiatrists significantly overprescribed narcotics and tranquilizers to, quote, drown the mental anguish housewives faced. One 1971 study found that physicians ranked a housewife having marital trouble as the patient most deserving of a tranquilizer. Sheesh. Drugs as social control. Feminists later argued that these pills were used as, quote, devices by their oppressors, let's go, to keep women submissive and compliant within an unequal social standing. That's all I'm saying. If it was a little balanced, like if we were just saying, hey, do you want to go out this way or do you want to go out that way, instead of just saying, this is the way you need to go, then it wouldn't have felt so oppressive. But it is. It totally was, man. God, I'm so glad we were growing. Final point, cultural normalization. Mother's Little Helper. By the mid-1960s, the phenomenon was so ubiquitous that it was, oh my God, satirized in the 1966 Rolling Stones song Mother's Little Helper, which critiqued the hypocrisy of a generation that relied on a, quote, little yellow pill to get through the day, while criticizing youth drug culture. And then the age of anxiety. In a post-war world riddled with nuclear fear and economic pressure, drugs like Valium, oh my God. Drugs like Valium, released in 1963, were sold as the ultimate, quote, miracle drug for an era of uncertainty. By 1972, Valium became the most prescribed medicine in the country. Yeah, I remember those days. So I thought that was a good read. Yeah, these commercials were insane. There was a lot of, like, looking back now, so much, just a lot of sexual stuff. Not a lot of sexual stuff, but just like gender roles. I would say gender roles would be the thing. Like the way that they were portraying what men should be and what women should be was like everywhere. Even when they had like low budget black and white screens, like all throughout the decades, they all had a role to fill, like a gender role to like upkeep. And I don't think it started to change until like maybe the 90s. But even then it was advertised. No, not even. In the 90s, they were definitely advertising being weight loss and all this other stuff. And not that there's anything wrong with losing weight, but just like the, what is it? It's just like the unrealistic expectation that they had for beauty. And men and women, just in general. I think it was just, I don't think it started to like level out a little bit until the 90s. I would like to believe so. Whole lot of coffee and cigarette commercials. And this was all like after the war. So this is all just like what America needed at that time. Let's just call it that. America needed, they needed their coffee. They needed to stay awake, and they needed their cigarettes, so they needed to curb their appetite so that they can produce more. They just needed to stay awake and produce more and build America. and they needed their wives to just stay in line, follow the fucking code, and just be happy. Okay, that's all we're asking. We're building America, woman. That's just like kind of like the gist of what I'm getting from all these advertisements, because it's just so many of them. And that's just what we needed at that time. What else was there? Women looking good in the 50s and 60s. I think the looking good came around the 70s. The 70s was actually, when you think about it, a brilliant fucking time for television. It was right before they banned, apparently, I think I'm just learned this, they put a ban on cigarette advertisements in commercials in like the late 60s, early 70s. So that happened. But before that, before like the FCC and all these other like organizations started coming out and like basically giving people tickets or shutting them down completely, like it was like the golden era of television. Like I'll kind of give you guys that, because y'all was really going out there saying retarded and you don't even make any good coffee. Why don't you just go back in there and wash the dishes? Like, these are commercials. Like all kinds of stuff like that. And then so when the 70s happened, when they started cracking down on that stuff, the advertisement, I think, got a little bit more creative. It also got a little bit more sexy. I think the 70s was like the beginning of the really sexy era. Like they were pantyhose commercials like pretty much all over the place, because these women who were still kind of getting out of their housewife role, they were still kind of housewives, but they still wanted to look good. In fact, society said that they needed to look good for him. These are words from the commercials. I'm literally quoting or paraphrasing these advertisements. They needed to look good for him. That was a need in America. I mean, I'm trying to just be like, right there in the middle on the silver lining, trying to find some good in this. That's what America needed. America needed these hardworking men. I mean, arguably the hardest working men in American history. Can we say that? Who's working harder than the men who built the country? Or the slaves? So, I don't know. I mean, we're talking all that shit now, but I think these traditional wife people, these trad wives girls, they only want half of the story. Like, they're like, oh, why don't you just be a traditional housewife and do as you're told and cook and clean and take care of the children and make yourself look nice and stuff. But the other half of that is the mental, emotional toll, physical toll. It's your body, your mental health, your spiritual health. Like, those women stuck it out as long as they did, because that's what they were told to do. That's what society needed them to do, come rain or shine, or medication. So, I don't know. Think about that before you want to go and be a submissive wife. I don't think anyone's supposed to be submitting to anyone. I think we're all supposed to be equal human beings. Can I just say that? Okay, women are better. Okay, fuck it. God's a woman. But, yeah. Other than that, I think we're all the same. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Do I want to read this coffee thing? Yeah, that's what we need. I think that was basically the gist of that reading there. Yeah, this is just going to be a quick little podcast here. I wanted to read some of these poorly aged commercials from the 50s, but before I do that, I saw this one advertisement, you guys. It was probably the most racist commercial I've ever seen. Like, if it was benefit, like I can't even speak right now. Like, giving the benefit of the doubt, it was not an American-made commercial. I don't think there was a time, and this was a color commercial, so this was after we had color on our TV, right? Was it? Yeah, it was. I believe it was from the 50s or the 60s. Actually, let me double check that, because I don't want to give misinformation. This was back in oh my God, 1933. So, black and white commercials, but I remember a color commercial. This actually went on for a long time. However, It was not an American commercial, okay? Because I don't think there was an era in America, and even the most racist of racist American history, that this would have been on air for as long as it has been. Like, they just recently changed their name. I know, for you old heads, you probably already know what I'm talking about. This is a Chinese commercial, I'm pretty fucking sure. It's a toothpaste that came out in the 1930s, apparently, and it was a dark colored toothpaste. It was like a black, almost like, yeah, black or dark brown colored toothpaste. And you know what they named this toothpaste? They named it Darky. It's gone through, since the origin, it's gone through several name changes, but it started with Darky. And then, like, the commercials, like, I can't even really put it into words. It was just unbelievably, like, but okay, when I'm thinking about the times that we were in, right? Because go back to some of the commercials. I didn't go back to the 30s, but I remember I went as far back as the 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s. Hell, all throughout, before we started like getting a little bit aware, like in the late 80s, like we were doing all these like Native American depictions and even Asian stereotypes in our commercials. Literally, they paid Asian actors and actresses so little that they had nothing to do but to play a racist stereotype in our commercials at their expense. You know, like, we were laughing at them. Like, the voiceovers was bad, the karate was bad, and like all kinds of shit was banned, like just your stereotypical Native American and Asian stuff. And so I'm like, can I really be mad? Okay, but can I really be mad at this toothpaste company? I'm gonna read this little racial history and evolution of the Darky toothpaste. 𝙬𝗫𝙬𝙬, which literally translates to black person toothpaste. I don't know where they got it from. Maybe it's like the times that we were in, or maybe it's just like their broken English. But even the advertisements, they were putting like a black. There's this one commercial, bro. It was definitely in color. It was a black dude. Oh my God, let me try and run it down in my head really quick. Okay, he was a black dude. He was walking down the street, and the girl had like a balloon that was stuck up, like really tall. It was stuck up at the top of like some fucking tower or something. And so this black dude climbed up to the top, bare hands, free climbing up the top of this very large, tall structure to get this girl's balloon down. He climbed down, he gave her the balloon, and then the mother snatched the girl away from her. She appeared out of nowhere and snatched the girl away from her before he could give her the balloon. And they were yelling something in a different language, but it sounded like, just by how they were portraying it in the commercial, that like she was mad because, I don't know, maybe because he was a black person. I don't know. They were making it sound like it was a racial. It was so confusing because they were making it seem like it was a racial commercial. And I was like, where is this going? I had no idea this was a toothpaste commercial, you guys. I'm like, I literally kind of like I had a little brain malfunction when I saw it because I'm like, where is this going? So the guy, once the girl snatches, he looks sad. So he takes the balloon back to his house. He walks by himself back to his house and he hangs up the balloon in his house where there's other balloons, sort of implying that he's helped little white girls before get down their balloons, but was not able to give them the balloons because of their racist parents. That's just what it was implying. That's what I gathered from it. And then he laid down on his bed, really sad by himself, and his bed turned out to be a fucking toothbrush, bitch. And then he laid down and he turned into the black toothpaste. And then that was the commercial. I have never been so flabbergastedly like, am I offended or is this like art? I don't fucking know. I'm like flabbergasted. But yeah, they named their brand the Black Person Toothpaste. Well, 𝙬𝗫𝙬𝙬. It's a black toothpaste, and it was called blackface. The brand has been criticized for decades due to its resilience on racist imagery and slurs. Origins of offensive branding. So establishment. The brand was established in 1933 by Shanghai by the Hawley and Hazel Chemical Company. Minstrelsy Roots. The original logo featured a wide eye. Oh my God, the logo was so fucking crazy. The original logo featured a wide-eyed, smiling man in blackface, wearing a top hat, tuxedo, and a monocle. I'm not making this up. This is a real fucking product. I'm not making this up. This image was explicitly modeled after the American minstrel performer Al Jolson, who was famous for mocking black people for the entertainment of white audiences. They named their toothpaste after that guy. And the name... The original English name, darky, is a derogatory term and racial slur used in the United Kingdom and the United States. No shit. It's used pretty much everywhere. We get it. But they named their product after. That's what they named it. And the logo was a fucking guy in blackface. That was in 1930s, right? So Colgate, Palmolive, and the first rebranding. Acquisition in 1985. Wow. Like over like 50 years before somebody said anything about it is crazy. That's crazy. In 1985, Colgate Palmolive acquired a 50% stake in the Hawley & Hazel. This triggered a significant backlash from African American groups, religious organizations, and shareholders who protested the brand's racist imagery. Wow, okay, I didn't even know that. So they didn't even change the name. Colgate just got like 50% of their fucking shares, I guess. And in 1985, the black people in America were not happy about that. Then in 1989, they had the name change. In response to the pressure the company issued, like nobody probably even knew about Blackie or Darky, the toothpaste, until Colgate was like, oh, they're making a lot of money over there. Let me get some of that. So in 1989, the name change, in response to the pressure, the company issued an apology and changed the English name from Darky to Darley. And then the logo was updated to depict a man of ambiguous race, often described as white or racially neutral, still wearing a top hat. Chinese name persistence. Despite the English rebranding, the Chinese name remained Black Person Toothpaste for several more decades. Get the fuck out of here. In 1990, an advertising campaign in Asia even reassured customers that the brand was still the same Black Person Toothpaste. Jeez Louise. Following the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, Colgate Palmolive announced a review of the brand to further evolve its identity. And then in December 2021, the company announced that the Chinese name would finally be changed from Black Person Toothpaste to 𝗁𝗁𝙗, which means good things will come, aligning the product with its corporate name. Despite its history of controversy, the brand remains one of the best-selling toothpastes in various Asian markets, including Taiwan, China, Malaysia, and Singapore. Low-key, I kind of want to just go get a little stick of some a little tube of Darky toothpaste just for history and science. I don't know. That's crazy, right? All right, are you guys done? Like, this is really like what I got for the week. I want to read this little thing about these banned commercials, and then I want to go into this TikTok post that I made a while ago, but I hadn't read on it because I haven't really been fucking with TikTok like that. And then we'll get into the J. Cole Fall Off Weekly review, and then that'll be the end of the podcast, most likely. Sorry if this isn't entertaining. I thought it was thoroughly entertaining. I'm actually kind of glad that I'm learning some new stuff here. So I'm going to read The Regressive Lens of the 50s and the 50s Advertising. I'm honestly just going to brief over it because there's a lot of commercials that were pulled. Actually, I don't even think I need to read it. You guys get the gist of it. I'm going to just read the major bullet points. We had racially offensive content. The 1958 Jell-O commercial that featured a Chinese type baby. You guys can go ahead and Google that or YouTube that. The yellow peril imagery throughout the 1950s that was stereotyping East Asians as sinister figures. Then there's misogyny and rigid gender roles like the Van Heusen shirts. I actually don't remember that, but it apparently is a famous campaign that said, quote, "Show her it's a man's world," depicting a woman kneeling before her husband while serving him breakfast in bed. What a time to be alive. The prescription commercials from Milltown in 1955 soda for babies. They were feeding babies 7-Up in commercials, you guys. They had campaigns for 7-Up and a lot of other stuff. Cola. Yeah, it says one ad featured a child under a year drinking from a bottle with the claim that starting cola early, quote, promotes an active lifestyle and provides essential sugars. Wow. All the propaganda that we were fed is insane. It is really kind of funny. And of course, all the cigarette commercials. I was really happy when we upped ourselves a little bit when we started banning those cigarette advertisements because they were making them for kids. You guys remember? They were making cigarette advertisements for children. Cartoons. The Flintstones. The Flintstones was smoking cigarettes. They were smoking, oh my God, what were their cigarettes? Y'all remember. It was like in the 30s and 40s, maybe even the 50s. And they didn't stop doing that until like the 70s. So, yeah, what a time to be alive. All the propaganda. Doctors were smoking cigarettes. I can't. What a time to be alive. Ignorance really is bliss. But is it really, though? Okay, so I made this post on TikTok. Was it 2 weeks ago? It was about 2 weeks ago. Why does it feel like my levels are off? I don't know how this sounds, but it feels like my levels are off. Mic check. And really, this post was something that is like, okay, now I hear myself. Hello. It's one of those posts where I'm like, okay, it sounded really good when I heard it. I didn't do any research before I made the post, but I did do research eventually. Okay, yeah, where the fuck did I even find this post at? Because I think I was just trying to start my shit on TikTok, start a fire and walk away. I don't even be on TikTok like that other than for like news. I don't be like making posts like that. The shit that I post is shit that everyone's heard before, and it's for the most part, like I said, it's good entertainment. It's mostly clickbaity shit. I'm just trying to get someone to like view it, like it, share it, whatever, engage with it in some way. I'm just trying to play the game. I'm just trying to play the TikTok game, and I'm not really great at playing it, mostly because I don't care enough to up all these likes. But this one had like 500 views on it, and some comments, like 10 or 11 comments. I want to read them. But do I want to read the stats before? Okay, I'm going to read the post and then see if I'm going to read the stats or the links that I found to back it up. The post said, powerful men stay powerful because the average man is content with being average. What kind of pink pill content creator made that? Where did I hear that shit from? If I remember correctly, I think I saw it from some kind of long form video, either on YouTube or TikTok or somewhere. And it was talking about how the patriarchy sort of depends on men who don't try as hard as they could, because that's how the people who do try harder than they thought they were capable of, that's how they stay in power. I'm not saying power is good or bad, but I think I like that quote, or basically that summary, that yeah, because we all can't be in power. If everyone's in power, then no one's in power, right? There's going to be someone at the top and someone at the bottom. That's just how the capitalistic hierarchy works. But the people who are at the top, they actually wanted to be at the top bad enough. They wanted to be there so bad that they made sure to keep you down here. I don't know if that makes sense. It sounds like I'm talking in circles, but that's basically what I got from that quote. How these men stay in power. We have men who just, and I'm disclaimer, not trying to bash men. I'm just speaking on the facts for my 2% listeners who are men. We have men out here who are just fine with living a minimalistic life. It would be coming, I don't know. I don't even think it would be coming. It's a little bit of personal responsibility, but it's also like, can you blame any of us really for, like, there's more people who are not in power. There's more of us than there are of them. So I think That's kind of how it's supposed to be. Like you must really, really want to get, and when you think about it, a lot of those people who are in power, not all of them. I would love to believe that it's not every single person who is in some kind of total power and success and like at the top of the fucking pyramid or whatever, that they're not all evil. Like they didn't all get there from like getting over on people or, you know, lying or killing babies and shit like that. You know, like I would like to believe that not all of them are, but a lot of them are. I'm not trying to tell men to like, hey, you know, stop being a pussy and go kill some babies and steal some people's healthcare money or whatever. But sort of like the positive equivalent, probably, I think. Not that it would even matter or it ever balance out. I don't even know, like, sort of like the point of stating that post now that I'm saying it out loud, other than just trying to just get some kind of rise out of some people. Are the articles that I have even worth reading? We have the gendered divide of power and status. So something about how women view power versus how men view power. Halfway feel like I'm like really kind of tired. I'm really kind of tired of talking about all this, to be fair. The anatomy of internalized submission and elite control. That might be a good read. It's kind of long though. Real talk. I'm like, I got like a good hour before I'm like, okay, what's good here? Debunking the ovulatory shift. Okay, that will be a good read for next week. How about I read one of these things and I'm gonna read the comments and then I'm over it. So we'll do the gender divide of power and status. Accents to the top of the social hierarchies are stereotypically gendered. Men are linked with power while women are linked with status based on respect and admiration. Again, I'm really not trying to post this dividing like kind of content. I'm really trying to just become more mindful and move sort of more to a balanced thing. But I did have these notes and it's sort of pertaining to my post, which will theoretically be sort of like the last type kind of these posts, at least for a minute or two. Maybe I just need to take a break from TikTok again. But it says power is defined as the asymmetric control over valued resources and the ability to influence outcomes or impose one's will despite resistance. And then status, by contrast, is the extent to which an individual is perceived as highly respected or held in high regard by others. Do I even need to read this all? Because that basically sounds like it sums up men and women. Gender roles differ between these two constructs in several key ways. So there's tangibility and stability. Men's power is seen as more tangible and less reliant on others. Okay, touche. Men's power is seen as more tangible and less reliant on others because it is often backed by control of money or organizational structures, whereas women's status is considered subjective and it is yes because it is conferred by others and can be taken away if the woman does not continue to behave in ways that maintain the admiration of her fans or peers. Well, that's good to know. I think we all knew that, but yeah, women just like to be liked. And I think maybe we can learn something from each other. Maybe if women cared more about power than they did about being liked, maybe we would, you know, be able to be in a better place. I don't know. And maybe the same thing with men. Maybe if men cared more about being liked than power, maybe both genders need to balance out the power and the status. Like, yes, you want to take care of yourself, you want to be self-sufficient and contributing to society in some way, but you also want to be liked, right? Maybe, yeah, men don't really care about being liked as much, and maybe that's why there's more men in power than there are women. I don't know. we can learn something from each other. I think mostly women can learn something from men. Or maybe both. How about that? Leadership prototypes. Traditional leadership models often overlap with masculine agentic roles, which focus on power over, quote, power over a model of dominance, control, and hierarchy. Feminine roles are more closely associated with communal traits and, quote, power with, which emphasizes building collective strength, collaboration, and mutual support. Okay, I'm over that read, but I'm going to read these comments. We get the gist of power, right? Power, status, all that shit. Post. Oh, again, the post kind of sounded nice. Powerful men stay powerful because the average man is content with being average. Public post, if you post on the 6th or the 8th, I made it on the 6th. And then it's a public post. If you're not already following me on TikTok, just go ahead and follow me. I'm everywhere. Chandie Speaks, YouTube, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram. This is a public post. I'm going to read their names. 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀 says, social engineering systems of control and oppression would like to chime in. Bingo. I actually like that comment. The Peasant 201 responded to that comment saying, every system is controlling to a degree. And then 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝘀 replied back to them saying, I generally agree, especially for human constructed systems. Which I kind of agree with as well. Okay, moving on. James Beheller 808 says, such a limited way to look at life and such a narrow definition of powerful. So we call that a projection because I never gave a definition of powerful. I said powerful men stay powerful because the average man is content with being average. So maybe, am I not seeing it the right way? Let me just reread his comment. Such a limited way to look at life and such a narrow definition of powerful. Yeah, he's entitled to his opinion. I don't believe they're correct. Okay, next comment from Quail. Quail says, no, not literally. The obscene accumulation of power literally prevents other people from rising. There may be some truth in that, but what if the people in power weren't evil? What if, like, the majority of the people who were in power were actually not evil and they actually thought about the human race and mankind and the whole world? We need somebody in power, right? We need, or what? Or do we all have our own power? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. I feel like if they were all positive and they were all not evil, they would want everybody to be in power. They would want everybody to, they would teach us to fish or some shit. You know what I mean? Hey, how can we get to that level where you're at so that we can take care of ourselves the way you're taking care of yourself? In an ideal, perfect world. But I get what they're saying. It's the accumulation of power from evil people that prevents other people from rising. Is better phrasing, I think. Okay, Salty Potatoes. Oh my God, I'm so fucking drowsy. Salty Potatoes says, there is nothing average about not valuing power above all else. Powerful men stay powerful because they are willing to step on others and take from others to control their power. Power is usually craved and prized only by those that feel truly powerless. That's a great comment, really. And I think it reminds me of a J. Cole quote where, and I'm going to paraphrase, but something about when you have the power, now you're just clinging on the need to keep that power. So now you're a slave to that power. And next comment, 𝘵𝗻𝗄𝗀 says, there's nothing wrong with being average. Some people don't crave or greed more, and that's totally fine. And that's also a projection, although on the other end of the spectrum, a projection nonetheless, because I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being average. I said the average man is content with being average. You can interpret these words however you will. Powerful doesn't actually necessarily have to mean financial status or anything like that. It can be like your inner power. It can be all kinds of different types of power that you have. Average man. I don't fucking know. and that the average man could be your inner average man, and it could be, it's not actually gendered. I was talking about mankind, like the average human, maybe. Powerful humans stay powerful because the average human is content with being average. Maybe I should just start making gender neutral posts as to not get all these beta males on my fucking posts projecting their shit on to it. I guess that was the intention, but I'm gonna try and switch it up and get more balance, because I think that's true for humans in general. Powerful humans stay powerful because the average human is content with being average. Okay. I don't even know if that made any sense. Jonathan wrote a very fucking long novel. Do I want to read this guy? Yeah, I'm going to read the novel and then that'll be the end. Jonathan 𝘵𝗫𝗶𝘀 wrote, most, quote, powerful, successful men I know are narcissistic douchebags who have done terrible things to other people in order to gain more while others get less. I work in construction, and I knew a lot of really wealthy private contractors and general contractors that boast about how they didn't pay someone for the work they did. Wow. Actively argue with subcontractors about work performed in order to pay them less. Not the worst, but the most recent example. Just about a year ago. Okay, before I read on, because he has a whole fucking novel, that has not power. I don't consider the people, just because they're cutting your paycheck doesn't mean that they have power. Actually, that sounds like the opposite of power. But I digress. So he goes on to say, just about a year ago, I was on a really big job site in California, and the electricians told my boss we needed to finish some work. The vice president of my company then took a template of a different contract than what was sent to the job we were working on, switched out the relevant page, and sent it back to the electrician saying that scope of work didn't fall under our contract. It would have saved over hundreds of thousands of dollars we were bid to do. The electrical contractor verified the real contract, and my vice president just played it off like he got the contracts mixed up, but then it made an absolute nightmare for us to work. Why did I read that? That just pissed me off. Irrelevant comment. Okay, that's the end of it. That's going to be the end of the podcast, you guys. Unless you're a hip-hop fan, then this is the J. Cole Fall Off Weekly Review. Right, meow. Okay, big J. Cole news this week. I would say the biggest news this week was, you guys, we got another proposal to life sentence. If you don't know, if you didn't know, if you better ask somebody, you can ask me. J. Cole has dropped the Fall Off album, supposedly his last album, but he dropped it in February. I've been listening to nothing or pretty much nothing else since it dropped, and he started tour in July, and he has a song on the album, I believe it's the second disc. It's actually, I'm not even going to stun on you guys. It's actually one of my least favorite songs on the entire double disc feature. It's 24 songs. He has 2 discs, and it's actually my least favorite song. It's actually, I don't like that song more than I don't like Legacy. And that's crazy, because if I tell anybody that I don't like Life Sentence or Legacy, if they're a J. Cole fan, they'll look at me like I'm fucking crazy. But those songs resonate with me the least. Little background on Legacy. Legacy is a song about him going back. And I've been seeing him perform Legacy in shows on the tour, but he's been performing it as an extended version of the song. So it's obviously a song that he really likes and he feels close to. And even since the album dropped, Legacy has been one of those fan favorites, at least from what I've been gathering from comments online. It's been more like a fan favorite since like day one. And to this day, it has not hit. It has not hit me. Maybe I just need to trip mushrooms and listen to Legacy, because it's just not hitting. The song is about him going back to his old town. After he got famous, he went back to his old hometown and just basically trying to hook up with the girl who he left behind. Maybe I'm a little butthurt or like about the times that it happened. And I don't know, like, why did you leave her? Granted, it was a good thing that he did leave her behind, because now he's Jermaine Cole. If he didn't leave her behind, he probably would have been just another ass baby daddy from North Carolina. But he is J. Cole, so I get it. But the song just never resonated with me. It's about him going back home and say, yeah, let's pick up where we kicked off. Let's pick up where I've been thinking about you. I'm coming back next summer. It's kind of meh. And then Life Sentence. Great song. It's a great song. They're both great songs. Actually, the melodies and the harmonizing that is on the Legacy song is great. Just the content of the lyrics, it doesn't hit for me. It's never hit for me. And I've been trying, okay? Life Sentence is another one. Of course, just going by off of it, it's a song about proposing or spending life with your soulmate, basically getting married. I'm divorced. Okay. I can't resonate with any parts of that song. Sorry. I don't think it means I'm bitter. It just means I'm just being realistic. Like it doesn't, to me, it doesn't sound like something that hits my heart, but it's hit a lot of other people. And plus another thing, he's sort of rapping in that song. I know I've talked about this before, but he's sort of rapping in that song in the style of DMX almost. Like when I first heard this song, I thought like DMX was actually rapping, but it's not. He was just that good of a rapper. I know some of my 90s heads are going to be hating on a bitch, but I never really was a big DMX fan growing up. Never really was into like the barking and all the growling. And I can say it now that I wasn't really a big Tupac fan growing up, probably for the same reason. I just didn't like their tone and their voice. Their voice didn't actually grow on me until I got older. Well, Tupac grew on me sooner because his lyrics resonated with me sooner. I never resonated with DMX. I didn't resonate with the Life Sentence song. But back near the beginning of the tour, he made a stop in Miami, and I talked about this in a previous episode where a girl got proposed on. A couple got engaged during the song, which is the most romantic thing. Honestly, if I could witness that, even though I don't like the song, I love that J. Cole's music is bringing people in holy matrimony. Beautiful. Even though I don't believe in the institution of marriage, but that's a different conversation. And they got to see their favorite artists rap about spending life with their person, and it got proposed on. It. I think it was a beautiful thing. That happened in Miami few weeks ago, maybe like the beginning of the tour, maybe a whole month ago. But someone got engaged again at the Chicago show, and I'm absolutely excited because Chicago, that's where I was born and raised. Well, I was born there. And it was just so beautiful. They got engaged to the song, and I tried to find links to get more information about the happy couple, but it's not, even Google's not picking it up. But I believe her name was Cracker Jacks. I forgot her name, but I sent her congratulations on TikTok. She got engaged at the Chicago show, and I just thought it was a beautiful thing. That, so far, on my count, it counts 2 proposals on this tour for the same song. J. Cole is making history. He's a legend. He's my GOAT, and he's making history. And before I get into my statistics for the week, my listening stats, I'm going to get into the fall off records and relinquished streaks, because you guys remember a couple months ago, he had his first album, the Fall Off album. It spent the least amount of time on the billboards. Not that any of that shit means anything to me, because I don't pay attention to the billboards. But of all of his albums, it forecasted to be his worst album because it spent the least amount of time on the billboards. But it made a comeback, obviously, after the Fall Off tour kicked off. So I'm just going to read this. Just his accomplishments since February, really. Since the release of his 7th studio album, The Fall Off, in February 2026, 2626, J. Cole has broken several personal and industry milestones, though the project also ended one of his most significant career-long streaks. The specific records and notable commercial milestones include the largest career vinyl sales week. Didn't know that. Roughly 71% of the album's pure sales, 80,000 units, came from vinyl, marking Cole's biggest ever week for that format. This was facilitated by the fact that The Fall Off was his first album available on vinyl concurrently with its digital and streaming release. So he was on his bag this time. This time around, like, you can get Forest Hills Drive and all those other albums on vinyl now, but this is the first time that he released the digital, the physical, and the vinyl version. He was selling CDs out of his trunk of his Honda. Okay. And he sold 80,000 units just in vinyl. So that's fucking big. Surpassing 100 Billboard and Hot 100 entries in the album's debut week, 21 of its 24 tracks entered the Billboard Hot 100. This achievement allowed Cole to surpass 100 career entries on the chart, and it was also the largest hip-hop sales week in nearly a year, with approximately 280,000 to 291,000 album equivalent units moved in its first week. The project boasted the largest sales week for a hip-hop album since March 2025. And some guy named Playboi Carti was the person that held it before. I'm assuming that's a guy. Yeah, 7th consecutive #1 album. The Fall Off was the 7th consecutive #1 album. The project debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, making it Cole's 7th consecutive studio album to reach the top spot, a streak dating back to his 2011 debut. And he also reached a Spotify milestone. Following the album's rollout, Cole's monthly listeners on Spotify surged, reaching a peak of over 40 million. New sales records. May 2026 reports indicate that J. Cole achieved a new sales record on May 26, 2026, which was tied to the release of a triple album by Drake, though the specific dates of his record were not fully elaborated in the provided excerpts. Oh, that's actually funny because that was when Drake dropped 3 flaming pieces of hot garbage in May, and it boosted Jermaine's sales to a new sales record that same month. So if he ain't the GOAT, I don't know who is. In all fairness, I would say Drake released 2.5 pieces of hot garbage. Iceman is like halfway listenable. I still listen to about half of Iceman. I don't really touch the other ones. So yeah. So on that note, I'm going to just read my stats for the week and then I'm done. I'm just really excited. I'm going to go see J. Cole in 23 days. That's literally 3 weeks from now. In 3 weeks, 3 more podcasts. And I'm going to be like, yo, I don't know how I'm going to, oh my God, post all these fucking content. I don't know, because of copyright and shit. If I did end up posting the video version of this episode, you can see my shiny new iPhone 17. What fucking iPhone is it? I think it's an iPhone 17. It's pretty snazzy. It's so sleek and new, and it kind of pisses me off because everything is so sensitive. Hasn't been broken in or anything. I don't even have a case for it. I ordered a case, but it should be coming soon. But literally, I only upgraded my phone. My phone before this was an iPhone 14. Had no problems. I mean, yeah, the camera didn't work. That was like the only problem. And I don't know if I talked about this before, but I was like, okay, I've been due for an upgrade for years. But I'm definitely going to upgrade before I go to see J. Cole, because I'd be damned if I take bad pictures when I see the GOAT, probably for his last fucking time ever. Or at least for a while. I don't know. So yeah, I got this new fancy schmancy phone that I kind of hate. I kind of really hate. It's just too new and nothing's connected. None of my passwords are saved. Now I have to go dig in the vault and figure out how to log in everything. It's kind of annoying. Call her back. Dang it. My niece is calling me. I got to call her back because I'm doing this podcast. But I'm about to be done. Okay. So we're going to read the stats. What's today? August 18th. We're going to read the stats for August 10th through August 16th. It says I listened to over 2,800 minutes on Spotify between August 10th and August 16th. So my top 5 artists are exactly the same as last week. Maybe I would say one is switched with the other one, but number 1 top artist for August 10th through August 16th is Jermaine Cole, J. Cole. Number 2 is Aubrey, Mr. Drake. Number 3 is Dreamville. Number 4 is Future. And number 5 is Boss. You guys already know the only reason why I'm listening to Future and Boss is because they're on the Fall Off album, and Dreamville, of course, is associated with J. Cole. So that's essentially the same fucking shit. Okay, now to my top songs. I know I went through it this week because I don't know. I went into a groove with Bombs in the Ville this week, so I know my Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas plays are up this week for sure. And I'm looking at my top 5 played songs for August 10th through August 16th, and they are all from the Fall Off. Number 1, making a nice, beautiful comeback, hasn't been in the top 5 for a few weeks now, Mr. Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas, arguably the best fucking song on the album, next to Safety. I played Bombs in the Ville / Hit the Gas 60 times this past week, and number 2 was Safety, of course. I only played that song 17 times. I love that song. Those are the best songs on the album. Number 3 was Who the Fuck Is You with 13 plays. Who the fuck is you? Oh my god, he does like this really cool, trippy version of Who the Fuck Is You, or he did it a few times in some of his fall off tour shows that I've been seeing. I really hope I get to see this cool rendition of that song. I love that fucking song. Number 4 was The Let Out with 12 plays, and number 5 was Run a Train, which is probably like my third least favorite song on the album. I say my bottom 3 songs on the whole double disc 24 track album is Run a Train, and then Legacy, and then Life Sentence is on the bottom. Really? Ocean Way. Ocean Way is not a great song for me. I would actually put up Run a Train. Run a Train's in the bottom 5. Ocean Way, Life Sentence, and Legacy, they just not doing it for me. I can listen to pretty much the whole album front to back, but those 3 songs are skippable for me. Unless I'm in the mood to like fantasize about, shit that don't exist or resonate with me in my life. But anyway, Run a Train got 12 plays this week. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys next week.